Welcome to Module 201, Lesson 2. I'm Ayla.
I'm Emily, and we're your MyZone Master Trainers.
First, before we get into our heart rate recovery assessment, we're going to talk about what is heart rate recovery, because that's important to know. Heart rate recovery refers to how quickly your heart rate comes down after a bout of more intense exercise. That can be at the end of your conditioning period, or it can be within an interval or within tempo and pace training like we've explained in previous lessons. With cardiorespiratory training over time, what we would expect to see is that your client's heart rate would recover faster and faster. And that would be, again, following a bout of moderate or high intensity exercise. So why is this important? Because it's demonstrating an improvement in your client's cardiorespiratory system. It's a sign of efficiency. So your heart, your lungs, your vascular system are able to recover faster when a stimulus is taken away, and then they're able to be more responsive when a stimulus is reintroduced. This recovery heart rate assessment you can use to track your client's heart rate recovery over time with MyZone, doing a pre and post assessment. We're going to give you timelines on that later. What you will need is a stopwatch or an easily visible clock like we can have up here or even on the bike that we have today, a pen and a chart to record data, which Emily will be doing, a stationary bike, a treadmill, an elliptical, a step machine, or some other type of cardio so that you can track your client's heart rate over time. MyZone belt is critical so that you can be recording the data. I'm gonna get on the bike.
Okay, while Ayla does the workout, I'm gonna be her trainer. She will be my client, and we're gonna watch her heart rate in real time using the MyZone system. So we'll see what's happening with her heart as it happens. So as Ayla gets warmed up, what I'm gonna do is make sure that her heart, which we can see on the MyZone system, is starting to stabilize, that her heart rate isn't really going up or down. This is her ambient heart rate, and I'm gonna record this as we see it. So we'll just take a little peek here and make sure. Okay, it looks pretty darn good. It hasn't gone up or down too much recently. So you'd want your client to be seated for this, either on the cycle ergometer, the spin bike, or they can be seated on a chair, whatever it might be. So we'll record this. Ayla, you've got a pretty low resting heart rate. Okay, here we go. Ambient heart rate. Now I'm gonna instruct Ayla to start warming up in either the gray or the blue zone for about 2 minutes. As she does this, I'm gonna check out the time, see how long she's been exercising for. At the end of every minute, I'm going to record her rate of perceived exertion, her RPE, as well as her heart rate. We're gonna go through this whole heart rate recovery assessment together. All right, Ayla's warming up. We're about 20 seconds into this, looking good. So it'd be really helpful to have a chart like this to keep tracking this over time with your client. That way you can keep track of what their heart rate was doing as well as how they were feeling throughout their assessment. Then when you do your follow-up assessment, you'll have very similar data, hopefully. All right, Ayla looks pretty good. She's been at this for about a minute. How you feeling, Ayla? What's your RPE?
I feel good. My RPE right now is like a 5.
Okay,
yeah.
A 5.
Yeah.
And I'm recording her heart rate while we're at this. Looking very nice.
Thank you. And you want me in blue, right?
I do want you in blue.
Okay.
After Ayla spends 2 minutes in either the gray or the blue zone, for her it'll be blue, she's going to increase her workload, either her speed or the resistance on the bike, up into the blue, the green, and then the yellow zone. She's already at blue, but she's gonna be there for an extra minute. She's gonna spend 1 minute in each of those zones, up to 85% of her maximal heart rate, and I'm going to keep recording her rate of perceived exertion and her heart rate at the end of every minute. We'll keep going, let's see.
You got it, girl.
Yeah. So she's about 2 minutes into this. Ayla, you've actually gone up a little high, so you can come back down a little bit. So you might have to coach your client. Yeah, it's exciting. You might have to coach your client to maybe decrease the speed, maybe decrease the resistance, and adjust so that they can hit these zones. How you feeling?
I feel great. I'm still at about like a 5.
A 5,
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Ayla looks good. So we're gonna hold Ayla here for 1 more minute, and then she's gonna bump it up into the green zone for a minute. then the yellow zone. We're gonna hold her at about 85%, and then we will have her completely stop exercise. The focus here is on how high can her heart rate get, and then how quickly can it drop down, or how much can it drop down within a minute after exercise. Looking good, Ayla, how you feeling?
I feel good, about the
Okay,
same. Yeah,
good.
like 5.
Good. She's a little over halfway through this first minute in the blue zone after the warm-up. Looks very good. And this is totally appropriate that she's working her way up into the higher part of the blue zone. Ayla, how you feeling?
Good, samesies.
Okay.
About a 5.
About
Yeah.
a 5, wonderful. Okay, good. You can actually take it up now into
Okay.
the green zone.
Great.
Here we go. Looks good. So Ayla is increasing her revolutions per minute just a little bit, and she's definitely increasing her watts to bump her heart rate up. You're almost there. Working your way up. You got
Yeah.
this. You want to instruct your client, of course, to keep breathing, make sure that they're feeling all right, that they're not experiencing any feelings of faintness or dizziness during this test. Looks good. Almost halfway through this minute in green. Remember, we've got 1 minute in green, 1 minute in yellow up to 85%, then Ayla's gonna stop exercising. She'll be able to just stay seated, but if your client was doing this, say, on a treadmill, you would have them sit back down in the chair they were seated for during their ambient heart rate recording. Okay, looks good. Ayla, yes. Beautiful. How are you feeling? What's your
I
RPE?
feel good. My RPE now is like a 6-7.
Okay, 6-7.
Yeah.
I will record that. Yes. 146. And Ayla, you can bump it up into the yellow.
Yeah,
up
buddy.
to 85%. Woo, looks good. Awesome. Ayla's working it. She's gonna start sweating a little bit. As we've mentioned, you can always kind of use the talk test to see how your client is feeling. And that can help be a cross-reference for not only their zone, but also for RPE. Looks good, Ayla. Yes. She's almost halfway through this final minute. Almost to 85%, Ayla. Hang in there. Here you are, 85%. Good. Stick there, Ayla. How are you feeling?
I feel good. This is probably like an 8.
Okay, good.
Solid 8.
Good. I'm gonna take your RPE again in just a second
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
Woo! Awesome. Beautiful. You can even come down just a little, Ayla. You're getting a little over there. Okay, good. Now, how are you feeling?
An 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
she's at an 8. 162 for her heart rate. And you can fully stop exercising in 3, 2, yes. Beautiful. From this point, I am going to just let Ayla sit here, breathe. Her heart rate's gonna come down, and we're gonna give her a minute. After that minute, I'm gonna record her RPE and her heart rate one more time. The value that I just recorded was her submaximal peak heart rate. That value is important, and we're gonna explain why after this. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good, you did a good job.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Good. Okay, cool. She's looking good. Heart rate is slowly coming down. Good. And now with someone who is very fit like Ayla is, we'll expect to see that her heart rate decreases fairly quickly, that she's got a nice strong recovery heart rate. Good.
I'm excited today though.
I know, today's exciting, so let's see. Good. Ayla, how are you feeling?
I feel good. Now I feel like a 4.
A 4? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Easy.
Wonderful. I'm going to record Ayla's heart rate here, 147. So this is her recovery heart rate. It's important to note this. That's kind of the whole point of this, right? We want to note how low her heart rate went following a bout of higher intensity exercise. And so as Ayla's just kind of cooling down right now, I'll explain what all of this means. Ayla had a submaximal peak heart rate of 162 beats per minute, and now her recovery heart rate was 147. So over time, what we might expect to see as Ayla continues training, or as your client continues training, is that 147 number, their recovery heart rate, should go down because their heart rate can recover faster from exercise. You'll expect to see that number is lower, and the difference between the submaximal peak and that recovery heart rate is greater, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And then another important key when you do follow-up assessments, when you do post-assessments, is that you keep as many factors consistent as possible. So if your client performed this assessment at 9 a.m., an hour after they had breakfast, maybe they had a little coffee, make sure that you replicate that when you do your post-assessment so that you can keep all the variables as similar as possible.
Yeah. Other considerations for this test are that as Ayla trains and becomes more and more fit, that margin of becoming more and more efficient with your heart is going to decrease. So we'll expect to see over time that yes, her recovery heart rate goes down a bit, but eventually she's going to get very close to her genetic potential, and it's not going to be able to recover that much, that much more rather.
Yeah.
You can do this assessment with your client, say every 6 to 8 weeks with regular cardiorespiratory exercise, and that will allow you to see how efficient their heart is at recovering from exercise.
Yeah.
That's all we got for you folks. Thank you for joining us for Module 201, Lesson 2.